Good morning, Muftawu Nabila Abdulai here with AM Sports. In exactly a month from today, most European leagues will go on break for the FIFA World Cup to start on November 20. And that simply means that Ghana, its players, will also be assembling for the competition as we get preparations underway to start our first game against Portugal on November 24. A former management committee chairman of the senior national team, Wilfred Kweku Osei, spoke to us a couple of days ago, and he had a message for the football governing body. According to him, the leadership of the Ghana Football Association should not influence the decisions of the technical team on who should be invited to play at the FIFA World Cup.
I don't have any problem with the squad.
A strong technical team?
Yes, they are a strong technical team, but nobody should try and influence them to take a decision that will be challenged later.
Try and influence them. Were you influencing the decision of player selection?
The coach will have to come and rationalize why a given player has been chosen.
So if the coaches are supposed to rationalize to the FA, is it a wrong thing to do?
We have heard comments from leadership, and we know what is going on.
Comments from who?
Leadership.
Who are the leadership?
When somebody says, I told them to choose this person.
Kurt is the leader of the FA, so if other members of the association does that...
Odo Safo is part of the leadership at the FA.
Yes, Randy Abe is part of leadership.
Yes.
Dr. Tonobo is part of leadership. Samuel Enim Adom is part of the leadership.
I'm not referring to Kurt.
But do you think it is possible that an executive committee member can influence?
The person said it to my hearing.
What about if that person was just badmouthing the FA for you? What if that person was just badmouthing his leader for you?
Nabila, there is no speculation.
No, but you're taking it hook, line, and sinker. Probably the person might have a different interest. That's what the person.
When a building collapses, you don't have to ask whether the ceiling was part of it or the roof was part of it. The main building has collapsed, and you are asking, well, oh, the ceiling can. Huh?
So this rhetorical question. My final question: how far do you think we can go at the World Cup? How far?
We should be able to make it semi-final. That is if you do the right things.
What are they?
Selection or merit. It's very important.
Still on the Black Stars, the first psychologist the senior national team used during its first ever participation in a Mundial was Dr. Yao Mfojo. He says the relationship between the Jan brothers was such that the elder Jan decided to sacrifice his career for the younger one, which is Asamoah Jan, to succeed.
Having to deal with his disappointment. Then there was the other challenge of having to deal with Bafo Jan, because and I'm sure that you can relate to this a lot better, but if you've watched the relationship between Bafo and Asamoah, Bafo basically he's so close to Asamoah that it's almost like he had to give Asamoah Jan permission to play when he had been dropped.
Yeah.
So it was also now, and in mental health and psychiatry or psychology, you call that situation almost like a folie à deux, like the control or the influence of one, whether the person is married or has wife, husband, brothers, whatever. So you had to deal with Bafo in almost getting his permission to allow Asamoah to perform.
Wow.
So that was also a very, I mean, it was interesting, the dynamic. I mean, I didn't realize how intimate,
deep-rooted.
Exactly. And I suspect that it must have played out again when in the 2008
Africa Cup of Nations.
So then I was not part of the setup, but I could immediately see the dynamic, and they had to call President Kufuor to exactly, and you know, but the dynamic.
The female national rugby team is targeting a place in a future under 15s World Cup competitions as it seeks to become a major force in Africa. My colleague Asar Bidiako has more in the following report.
The Women's Rugby 15th World Cup is underway in New Zealand. 12 teams in 3 pools each are competing for the coveted title. The dream of female rugby players in the country is to get the opportunity to compete in the tournament in the not too distant future. After competing and excelling in several competitions on the continent, the national female rugby team has in recent times been competing in the Barbarians 15th event, which comes off in Accra every Saturday. Rafatu Inusa, women's representative on the Ghana Rugby Board, is confident Ghana will make it to the Women's 15th Rugby World Cup one day.
We are hoping that whatever we've started here is able to encourage the ladies to be able to put out their best and represent Ghana at the international level. And I'm so excited to see players coming from all the 3 regions of rugby, that is Greater Accra, Northern and then Central region. We have players coming all across from these regions playing in this competition. Basically, you can see the big girls who were not able to fit into the 7th group are very happy to have the 15th ongoing, and then those people who are not able to get into the squad are now putting out their best as to what they are really capable of. So basically you can see they are happy, and therefore it encourages them to show what they have and to be able to be called for national games.
The Barbarians 15th aims at preparing rugby players in the country for the club championship and future international assignments.
Hey, press!
In the lead up to the UEFA Champions League night on Wednesday, there were a couple of stories from France on how Kylian Mbappe was pushing for an exit out of PSG. However, he let the talking happen more on the football pitch with a first half penalty, but Paris Saint-Germain shared the spoils with Benfica, while Antonio Rudiger's last goal-minute header shattered Shakhtar Donetsk's house in Warsaw, with a 1-1 draw, securing Real Madrid's spot in the Champions League knockout stages. Also, at the San Siro, Chelsea claimed their first Champions League win in Italy for the first time in 19 years by defeating 10-man Milan 2-0. Juventus crashed to their 3rd group defeat as they lost 2-0 to Maccabi Haifa. Yesterday, we reported exclusively on the AM show that the Confederation of African Football has written to the clubs that participated in the maiden edition of the CAF Women's Champions League, telling them that there was no prize money available for them. The details of that story is on my joyonline.com. We do have an update from CAF, who say that the leadership under Dr. Patrice Motsepe met a debt of about $38 million. So unfortunately, they were not able to raise money for that competition. The clubs that we have spoken to have also said they will engage CAF further because they cannot understand why they spent huge amount of money for the competition and will not get anything. The details of that story here. We are sorry you played the tournament for free. That's the story. You can go in there and read every single detail and the specific days and times that CAF sent the emails to the various clubs and copied their various federations. Muftawu Nabila Abdulai, AM Sports.